What's up, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here, and I'm wearing the same shirt that I was wearing in last week's videos because I'm filming this video at the same time that I was filming all of those videos. I'm getting a little bit of a head start on this week's videos, and I'm here to talk about a movie that I just recently watched, Argo. This movie is really significant for comic book fans and people who are into the comic book scene for two reasons. Number one, Ben Affleck is in this movie, and he was cast as Batman probably a year ago. It's been a while since he was cast, and basically ever since that happened, there have been two groups of people who have very, very different opinions on this. You have the people who are insanely angry that Ben Affleck is Batman and they do not want this to happen, and then you have the defenders who are saying that this is going to be an okay thing. And a lot of people who are defending this choice to cast Ben Affleck as Batman, they are saying, have you ever seen the movie Argo? He was really good in Argo, he's going to be really good as Batman. And I will say, watching this movie, it is a really fantastic movie. I really enjoyed myself, but Ben Affleck is not as fantastic as what I was going into this believing. Now, don't get me wrong, he's not bad. He is not at any point in this movie putting in any bad acting at all. But what I found out when I was watching this is that this is really more of an ensemble movie, and Ben Affleck is in it for like 65% of the movie. He is probably the main character. He is the one guy who gets the most to do in this movie. But for the other 35% of the time, it's a lot of other actors kind of lifting the movie up on their shoulders as well. And so this isn't the Ben Affleck movie that I would point to tell people, hey, look, it's going to be okay. Batman isn't going to be really terrible like Daredevil was. I wouldn't necessarily point to this because while Ben Affleck is really fantastic in this, he's also not in it as much as I thought he was going to be based on all of those people saying that Ben Affleck in Argo is really fantastic. And he is really fantastic. And the other comic book connection here is something that if you've seen this movie, if you blink, you will miss it. But it turns out the premise of this movie, I should go ahead and explain the premise. In the late 1970s, very early 1980s, there was an upheaval in the political structure of Iran, and there were several American people in the embassy, the American embassy in Iran, and then a lot of Iranian citizens overran the embassy and basically were holding like 400 American people hostage. I think they said it was about, no, it wasn't 400, it was a lot less than that. They were there for 400 something days, that's what I'm thinking of. But anyway, 6 people who worked in the embassy, 6 Americans, managed to escape right when the embassy was being taken over, and so they went to go hide out, and then the people who took over the embassy, they find out, oh, we have 6 employees who are missing. We need to find them because we don't want them getting out because that'll make us look bad. And so the premise of this movie is that the American government is trying to find a way to go in and rescue those 6 people without there being an international incident and without causing any bloodshed. And basically, the premise, what ends up happening is that Ben Affleck's character, and I should mention this is based on a real story. This is not just a movie, it's based on a real story. The guy that Ben Affleck is playing, he finally has an idea. What if we pretend like we are making a movie, and we go into Iran and we pretend like we're making a movie, and then all of these people, all of these Americans who the entire country of Iran is searching for, we say that they are Canadians and that we are just Canadian filmmakers, and then we leave Iran easy peasy. And that's basically what's going on here. And in real life, comic book artist Jack Kirby, who is the co-creator of almost every comic book character you can think of, the Fantastic Four, Captain America, the X-Men, I can't think of any others, the Hulk, I think Thor, no, he didn't co-create Thor, but he did draw Thor for a little while. He co-created a whole bunch of characters at both Marvel and DC, and there is one like 2-second cameo of a guy playing Jack Kirby here. In real life, Jack Kirby was tapped to do some concept art for this fake movie that they were doing, and the movie was called Argo. And so if you Google Argo concept art, you will find some Jack Kirby concept art that he did to kind of make this seem like it was a legit thing that they were doing. And there is like a 2-second cameo by this guy who I guess is playing Jack Kirby, and literally if you blink, if you turn to cough or something for like a second and a half, you're going to miss Jack Kirby in this movie. But that's probably my biggest complaint with this movie, is that it really downplays Jack Kirby's involvement in this thing. And admittedly, all he did was draw some pictures and give them to these guys. It wasn't like he was there in the planning stages trying to run this operation or anything like that. But it felt like they were really skipping over that whole thing. In fact, at the very end of the movie, I was saying, well, I really wish that they had put Jack Kirby in there. And then I found out, oh no, Jack Kirby was in there, just very, very little. And if you ever watched Twin Peaks, the guy who played Jean Reno, he played Jack Kirby here. So what else do I have to say about this movie? The acting is really solid all across the board. It's got some really funny moments in it. There's some moments that I wasn't expecting that kind of humor, especially after Ben Affleck's character gets into Iran. There's some really funny moments, and it's a really tense movie, and I think that's why I wasn't expecting it to be as funny as it was. But there's some really tense moments, and then they turn around and they do something kind of funny, and it's like, oh, that relieves the tension a little bit, and then they get the tension back going again. One thing that I was kind of surprised by, outside of the main characters, you've got Ben Affleck, John Goodman, and Alan Arkin. They are all who I would call the main characters, and then you've got Bryan Cranston. He's also in there as a main character. You've got a lot of characters in here who are played by actors who I knew from other things, and I was really surprised how many minor characters who are in this movie for like a minute and a half are played by actors that I knew from other stuff. The Smoke Monster from Lost is in this. Danko from Hero Season 3 is in this. And then playing the American hostages, or the Americans who are trying to leave, you've got Lucy from Scrubs Season 9, Marcy from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She was the invisible girl in Season 1. And then in Friends, Rachel's boyfriend Joshua, he is in this. And every time I would see one of these actors, I'd be like, wait a minute, is that? Yeah, that's Lucy, that's Marcy, that's Joshua. And every time, I was like, hey, that's kind of neat. And other than those main actors, like Ben Affleck, John Goodman, Alan Arkin, and Bryan Cranston, you've got a lot of actors here who, they don't do a whole lot. Like, the lady that Lucy from Scrubs plays, I don't even remember any of her lines of dialogue. I know she talks at one point, but she doesn't have a lot of memorable dialogue. And so, it's not that she's doing a whole lot here. She's not doing as much as, say, Bryan Cranston, but she is playing scared and playing like terrified that she's going to die very believably. So it's not that they just got some really lousy actors to play these characters who are only going to be in the movie for a few minutes. They got some actors who are very capable. And all these people who I knew from other things, they are very capable actors who are giving it their all, even if they're only in this movie for 2.5 minutes. And that's about all I have to say. I really didn't have a whole lot to say here, but this is a really excellent movie. It's not an action movie. This is not a movie, if you hear the premise and you're like, okay, the government goes in and they're going to rescue these Americans and they're going to shoot a lot of people. No, it's not that at all. It's a very suspenseful movie. It's got a lot of tension in it, but there is not a single action scene in this entire movie, and that kind of surprised me by the time I was done. So I would say this is like a historical drama, but it's not an action movie. It's not what you would expect going into this movie. And I really enjoyed this movie, and that's saying a lot because I usually don't watch movies that are real-world stories. But I got this for $1, and I knew about the comic book connection to Jack Kirby, and I had heard so many people say, if you don't think that Ben Affleck is going to be a good Batman, go watch Argo. And so I was thinking, you know what? For $1, that's going to be worth it. I'm just going to get it. And I wound up really enjoying it, and I definitely think I'll be watching it again within the next 6 months or something like that. So if you were doubting, this keeps rattling. Oh, okay, it's this little thing here. If you were doubting that this movie is any good, I would say give it a watch. I don't know how much that I would be willing to pay for it, but I think for $1 it was really worth it. So if you want to go to Redbox and see if it's in Redbox, I don't know if it's in Redbox, see if you want to pay $1 for it. Maybe you'll really love it, maybe you won't. But it's definitely worth $1, and I would say that it's a really great movie. I had a lot of fun, and it's probably one of my favorites of whatever year it came out in. I think it came out last year, I don't remember, but this is definitely one of the best movies of 2013 if it did come out in 2013. So that's all I have to say about the movie Argo. I hope that you guys liked the movie if you saw it, and if you did, I hope that you liked this video, and if you did like this video, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow with another kind of video. So until then, I will see you guys later. Have a great rest of the day.